Hey, this is Mike from Run Testers. These are the new AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation. Now, myself, Nick and Kieran have all been testing the new AirPods and taking them out on our runs to find out whether these might be the best AirPods for runners and whether this might be one of the best set of running earbuds you can buy right now. First, we'll get into what's different from the previous AirPods, how it compares to the AirPods Pro as well too. Then get into our running thoughts and let you know whether you should be buying the Apple AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation. Okay, so here are the key things you need to know about the Apple AirPods 4 with ANC. Let's start with price. And the AirPods 4 ANC are priced at £179 in the UK or $179 in the US. The AirPods 4 without ANC in comparison costs £129 or $129. Design-wise, it retains the STEM style look and carries an IP54 dust, sweat and water resistant rating, which is an upgrade on the IPX4 rated design on the AirPods 3rd generation. Like the 3rd gen AirPods, you've got force sensor style controls to play and pause audio, handle calls, skip back and forward a track, and can be pressed to summon Siri. The buds sit inside a case that supports wireless charging, so works with Apple Watch chargers and QI certified chargers. There's also a speaker built in to make sure you can make use of Apple's Find My Locating feature. In terms of audio features, you're getting active noise cancellation, of course, though not the Pro level version offered on the AirPods Pro 2. You are also getting Pro 2 features like transparency mode and adaptive EQ with the microphones to handle calls and block out exterior noise for clearer call quality. In terms of battery, the AirPods 4 ANC promise 4 hours with ANC in use or 5 hours with the ANC disabled. There is a quick charge mode to give you 1 hour of playtime from a 5-minute charge.
So I was very excited about the launch of the AirPods 4. I tend to really like open fit headphones like this that aren't completely open but sit in the ear without in-ear buds, which sometimes don't really work that well for me. I was a big fan of the AirPods 3 and I still use them to this day, and I think the AirPods 4 have a design that is an upgrade on those. You've got a lighter, dinkier design here with the headphones themselves being a little bit smaller. They sit a little bit better in the ear for me as well, and obviously the addition of ANC just makes them a lot more useful in general, I find. So the fit is perfect for me. So this is not going to be the case for everyone. With open fit buds like these, they either stay in your ears or they don't, but I find that they stay in my ears really well. I've been using them for pretty much all my runs over the last few weeks, done a lot of very long runs with them, and they're just comfortable. They stay in place. I don't have to worry about if I'm wearing glasses, hats, that kind of thing. They are comfortable under a headband as well, and yeah, it's just been great for me. Like very occasionally at the start of a rep, when I suddenly speed up, they feel a bit loose, but they've never had any indication they're going to drop out, and for the most part I've done 20 miles in them and they just sit in the ear perfectly well. So the fit is exactly what I want basically for running, because in-ear buds like the AirPods Pro for the most part will squirm a little bit loose for me unless they have wings or some kind of hook, which then can be a bit uncomfortable. There are exceptions to this. Jabra's headphones have always sat really well in my ear, but the AirPods Pro do come loose for me a little bit without a third-party silicone wing or something. So a fit like this is just very uncomplicated. It just sits there. I can hear my music and my audio really clearly. There's no discomfort. I can use them for several hours afterwards as well, and they're more comfortable than in-ear buds for extended use as well. So all around delighted with the fit, and the fact that they are not in-ear buds mean that you do get some external sounds coming in. Obviously they're not completely open headphones or bone conduction headphones, but I find with the AirPods 4 in, I can hear enough of my surroundings on the run that I'm not worried about missing a car going by, especially if you use the transparency mode or turn the ANC off. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me in that you get better sound quality than from truly open headphones, whilst still having some awareness. Controls have been fine for me as well. Like, it's a bit annoying there's no volume control on them like there is with the AirPods Pro. I do wish Apple had added that slider control to these as well, but the controls that are there are quite easy to do on the run. Like, it's slightly fiddly to hold and squeeze the headphone on the run, but at least you are getting that control right. You get like haptic feedback and tone and stuff like that. So yeah, the controls are fine to use on the run, but I do wish they'd added the volume control.
When it comes to design, the AirPods 4 with ANC are really light. They're among some of the lightest buds that I've ever run with, and I really like that a lot. However, without the silicone tips, I don't find the fit is as secure as you'll get on the AirPods Pro 2, and you obviously can't adjust that fit by choosing different size of silicone tips because you've got a one size fits all here. So on the whole, I found that they feel much more like they're going to wriggle free on your runs than the AirPods Pro 2 and buds like the Jabra Elite 8 Active. Now, while I didn't have any dropouts during my tests, they don't have the full fit security for me, and I'm just aware of that jeopardy as I run. I'm just aware that they might fall out at any moment. The AirPods Pro 2 lock more reliably in my ears, and for that I think they're the better option for running. The flip side to that though, I think, is that you feel the AirPods Pro 2 in your ear more. They're not quite as overall sort of comfortable. The AirPods 4 with ANC, they just disappear somewhat more. And when you're using them for day-to-day, the AirPods 4 are definitely more comfortable for long listening periods. Now, speaking of day-to-day use, I'm often jumping from phone to laptop, and I found the auto switching between the Apple devices brilliantly fast and reliable. It seems to be a bit more smooth than you'll get with sort of third-party headphones when you're using Apple kit. It's kind of a small thing, but when you do that move a lot, it's really happily seamless and it works really nicely. Now the case is 2/3 smaller than the AirPods Pro 2. That's a big plus for stashability on runs. And I salute the fact that it's dust, sweat and water resistant. And on my runs in some pretty testing conditions so far, it's been absolutely fine stashed there in my running belt. Though I would like a hook on the case here so that you can secure them to a key hook in your belt. It's got that kind of smooth, lozengey, losable kind of case feel. Now, the speaker on the case is also dead handy for pinging and finding misplaced headphones if you do happen to lose them, though. When it comes to the controls of the buds, I found the 4 sensors and the combination of presses and holds really easy to get to grips with. And generally, they're nicely responsive and easy to use, though I do worry that when I'm grabbing the stem on faster runs to sort of do those moves, that I might tug them free or jostle them, and that kind of comes into play with the kind of fit security. I also really wanted a voice confirmation to let me know which sound mode I'd switch to on runs. Now, I might be missing something in the settings here, but I couldn't seem to find that. Another thing to note, when it comes to volume, I tend to whack my headphones in and just hammer up the volume, and then I just run kind of one mode, off you go. I don't fiddle too much, but some runners will definitely miss the sliding volume controls that you would have got on other AirPods. They're not here on the AirPods 4 with ANC. And I'd happily swap the summon Siri press and hold to have those volume controls back. You kind of have to do voice Siri controls to raise the volume or go to your phone to do that. I do have the nod interaction that lets you nod your head to answer a call or shake your head to reject it and do the same with incoming messages. I found that dead handy. Now, if I'm running, I am mainly rejecting, by the way.
Now, let's start with that all-important fit and also talk about the controls as well, too. Now, I have used the AirPods Pro, AirPods Pro 2 a fair amount. I've trained with them. I've used them for races. They sound great. The fit is very good. Crucially, it has that kind of silicone tip that really kind of, improves that overall fit. Now, you don't get that on the AirPods here. It's a very different design setup, this kind of open ear design, which I can be a bit hit and miss in terms of the secureness that I enjoy. And I would say with the AirPods, my experience has been more on that side of, are these going to fall out? I've always got that fear that maybe the way they sit to my ears, they feel a bit precarious in terms of that positioning. Now, the first run I did was kind of a rainy, windy run. I had them on, I put them in. When I started to, or needed to kind of, play around with the controls, I felt like I was kind of dislodging them from that kind of relatively secure position. And I found that was always the case in those runs where I was running a bit faster. It was a bit windier, if and I had to interact with those controls, I had that constant fear that these aren't sitting securely enough in my ears. And I've had a fair few runs where they've been absolutely fine. I've done treadmill runs. I did a track session with them as well too. I've done some easier runs with them as well. They've been absolutely fine, but that fear has never really gone away with me, where I've not really had that with the AirPods Pro really, and I think ultimately that has been an issue for me in my time and wanting to use it, for all of my runs. I had a race coming up and I ultimately didn't feel comfortable or confident enough that these would, deliver that kind of secure fit, that I wouldn't absolutely knock them out during the race if I had to play around with the controls. Now, the controls in general are pretty good. I like the fact that they're kind of built into the stems. They're kind of, simple kind of presses to kind of play and pause, skip tracks. That works very fine. As I said, when I'm running easy, they're generally, easy to interact with. Faster, it's a bit more of a problem for me. I think, the one thing I really miss from the Pros is the kind of volume control. There's kind of stem controls and you can just kind of roll and slide your fingers up and it kind of adjust the controls. I really like a volume control, and ultimately you don't have that here on the AirPods, so I miss that here for me. So while the controls are generally good, I do miss the kind of Pro kind of volume control that you do get. And I always would prefer physical controls in general anyway, which I think the AirPods Pro ones are a little bit closer to those kind of physical controls you get from other truly wireless earbuds. So yeah, for me, fit was okay, but there was obviously definitely more occasions where I felt a little bit fearful of the secureness overall, and particularly when using or trying to interact with the controls. So in terms of overall sound performance, I would say overall I've been very happy with what you get on the AirPods, which makes me slightly more disappointed by the experience I've had with the Fit, because, every time I put them in most scenarios, they've sounded fantastic, even for kind of open ear kind of style earbuds. They do really perform really well. It's very balanced, it's very versatile. I think things like the ANC is very good for this style of headphone, particularly, when I've been running indoors, outdoors, when I've just been using them for kind of, for traveling as well too. I've been surprised by how effective they are in cancelling out noise. Not as good as the AirPods Pro or Pro 2, but it definitely, does deliver a good level of active noise cancellation here. I think the one thing that's really stood out for me is the kind of adaptive audio quality, which I think, a lot of kind of earbuds and headphones do offer this kind of feature, but I think it's very notable how well it works when it is adjusting that level of sound when you are in louder environments, when you're in quieter environments, and it's very subtle in the way it does that. And it just ensures that, you're not having to listen at the loudest volumes, you're still hearing what you want to hear, but just hearing it in correspondence with what, the other noises in your environment. And that's been a feature that's really stood out for me in my time. But I think ultimately, these are really good sounding AirPods. They aren't going to give you the top level active noise cancellation that you will get in Apple's AirPods range, but it is very good, and it definitely is effective enough, I think, in a lot of environments. I think overall, the sound is just very enjoyable. I've enjoyed using them on all my runs. And I think, that adaptive audio feature really has stood out for me, and how well it effectively works in a lot of different environments.
Now, I'm no golden-eared audiophile, but for me on my runs, I found the sound quality well balanced. You get clear vocals, good top volume, and a healthy amount of bass that all adds up to audio that's plenty rich and punchy enough to deliver a decent motivational kick in the pants. The kind of kick in the pants that I want from the cheesy European dance music that I tend to pump out on my runs, which tends to be a bit bassy, nice and loud, just pretty full and rich. Does the job here. And when it comes to different sound profiles, the comprehensive selection of different sound modes, I think, delivers some really very clever capabilities. I like the adaptive audio that automatically adjusts the levels of transparency and active noise cancellation based on your current sound surroundings, though I sometimes experience that there are sort of apparent rises in volume when there didn't seem to be too many changes to the sort of sound environment I was in. It happened sometimes when I was moving along the riverside where I didn't really notice much had changed. It didn't happen that often, but it is kind of noticeable when it does. Now, the conversation awareness mode that spots when you're speaking and lowers the volume, I think is excellent as well. It's really effective. It works really reliably. On solo marathons and ultras, I'm often popping into shops and cafes to buy water, and this works really well for that use case. You don't have to take the buds out, put them in the case, put them away, or risk putting them on a counter and leaving them there. So that's a thumbs up. Then there's the ANC, which is impressive for this style of open earbuds. It's not as good as you'll get from the sealed fit of the AirPods Pro 2, but it's still really quite good. I don't tend to use ANC that much on runs, but I've used it a lot working in noisy cafes when I've got video editing to do or concentrating on writing, and it locks out the background really nicely. It's also pretty decent on regular trains. It did struggle with some of the loudest underground lines though here in London. Now, call quality I also found impressive. I don't tend to take calls on runs. That's my time to forget about the world for a bit. But in testing for this review, I found the call quality was excellent. That's not always the case with buds that I take on the run. Others can struggle with the wind and the audio as you're moving. But I got good incoming audio, and the callers at the other end also reported good, clear sound coming back. So that's a thumbs up.
The sound quality of the AirPods 4, I'd say it's pretty good. Like, it's good enough that I've enjoyed using these headphones as my main headphones for everything. They're all I've been using for runs, work, traveling over the past few weeks. And yeah, the sound's good enough to be enjoyable for me. It's loud enough, it's clear enough on the run. Like I say, compared to open headphones, you do get a higher level of audio quality, I think, and louder audio as well. So it means if you are running by a busy road, you can zone in and listen to your music. ANC is kind of the same. Like, it's pretty good. Like, you do filter out quite a lot of sound when you're traveling. So I've noticed, I've been on trains and planes with this, and it does filter out enough of that external sound to, really make an impact on your journey. And actually, when I'm training indoors on an indoor bike or even a treadmill, it does filter out that sound quite effectively as well. I'd say with both the sound and the ANC, it's a step down on buds like the AirPods Pro, as you might expect, and other really good in-ear buds that you can get for around this price. But it is a step up on what you get from open headphones, even at this price, I think. Like, the ones that have the speaker near the ear, I think you get a better level of sound quality from the AirPods 4. It's nice and clear. You can play it nice and loud without any distortion, I find. It's not the most detailed or deep sound quality, but it is really good and certainly very enjoyable. If you are someone who's very keen on their sound, then certainly you're going to find better headphones for pure sound quality and ANC. But I do think the AirPods 4 deliver pretty well on both fronts, and the transparency mode is also very good. Like, it does give you, a really good amount of awareness when you are out on the run, and it doesn't have any of that kind of wind noise you sometimes get with transparency mode when the mics are picking up all that wind and filtering it in. You don't get that at all, so you can stay aware whilst listening to audio. So sound quality would be a tick for me, even though you can get upgrades by looking at in-earbuds.
So in terms of battery life, now you're not getting the biggest battery life numbers on a set of truly wireless earbuds here, slightly less than the AirPods Pro and Pro 2. And obviously if you factor in active noise cancellation, that is going to drain the battery quicker as well. And there's definitely a mixture in terms of my experience in terms of the battery I've enjoyed when I've used the active noise cancellation, when I've used the kind of transparency mode, when I've used the kind of adaptive kind of mode as well too. And I think generally the battery life is good, it's good enough. But I think ultimately if you're wanting those kind of big battery life numbers, that's not what you're going to get here on the AirPods. Now in terms of kind of charging and stuff, it's relatively quick in terms of charging. So while it hasn't got the biggest numbers attached to it, it's a relatively quick charger. And if you need to go out and do a run, you're dropping it on a charger, plug it into, if you've got the USB-C version, you're not charging it for long to get enough battery life to play with. I like the fact that the case is a little bit smaller. I mean, the AirPods Pro case is generally quite small already, but this is even more compact with the AirPods 4, and I kind of like the fact that if you did want to carry it, and I don't generally carry the case with me if I go out on runs, but if I was, I know I could easily slip this into a running belt and I wouldn't feel any kind of clunkiness or feel like it was knocking around in my running belt. So for me, battery life is not standout, it's not the best. ANC will definitely impact on it, but in general it's been good enough for me, and the charging kind of slightly makes up, or the charging speed kind of makes up for that experience I've had with the battery life.
Onto battery life then, and like I said, I have been using the AirPods 4 as my main headphones for everything, usually with the ANC on outside of my runs, and you do go through that battery life pretty quickly if you do that. Like for a few days I start to get a bit itchy and want to plug them in for a little bit. They do charge very quickly, and that obviously is a big plus as well, but you can use them for a couple of days of pretty much everything without worrying. You can charge them very quickly. I'd say it's not really a plus point, the battery life, but I wouldn't say it's a huge negative for me, given that it's a very small case, the buds themselves are very small, and it's not something that's really a worry all the time. If you are looking at very long runs, you're going to have to carry the case with you to make sure you have enough battery life, but it is a really small case and very pocketable as well, so I do think that's the plus point for the buds, in that you can bring the case with you on runs without really noticing it's there. So yeah, all round battery life was kind of fine, not very, very long. Like, you can get small headphones with more battery life, again looking at the Jabra Elite 8 Active, but hasn't been a big negative for me in my use either.
And when it comes to battery life, I found I got less than 4 hours off the AirPods buds when I was using the ANC. That's just short of Apple's estimates, but that's with volume up close to max. A 1 hour run with noise control off burned 14%, and in testing I also did the best part of a marathon in the AirPods 4. I came up just 3 miles short, but I ran for 3.5 hours, switching up the modes every hour. The total burn for that run came in at 83%. 1 hour with ANC burned 26%, 1 hour with adaptive audio burned 29%, and 1 hour transparency mode burned 26%. Pretty even performance there. The Buds' battery life is lower than many of the rivals, but I'd say most runners can comfortably run a marathon provided you're running without noise control on. There's a healthy amount of backup battery in the case too. That means you can squeeze out a month of daily training on a charge, and more than that with a few little timely top-ups, which is pretty good for most casual users. Verdict then, when it comes to picking the best running headphones, I tend to prioritise 3 things: good fit, battery life and sound. Now, good fit for me tops everything else. If the buds don't stay in or feel comfortable for long runs, the other stuff doesn't really matter so much. Now, the Apple AirPods 4 with ANC just about passed this test for me, but not necessarily with flying colours. I wouldn't, for example, want to have them in on steep trail descents or some of the runs where you've got big, steep, faster downhill sections. There's always this slight feeling that they might wriggle loose and hit the deck. That's one to consider for race day as well. The last thing you want is an AirPod dropping to the ground during a marathon stampede. Now, on steady runs it was less of an issue, but I do prefer the AirPods Pro 2 and the Jabra Elite 8 Active for that fit security. Then there's the marathon duration battery life. If you're planning to use the ANC or other sound features and you're a 4 hour plus marathon runner, the battery life here might be a bit short. unless you carry the case for a quick recharge en route. The 30-hour case does, however, make them an okay option for ultras, where you might not listen all the time and you've got time to put them back in the case to recharge for small sections. Third on my priority list is good sound, and for my non-audiophile is the AirPods 4 with ANC deliver. They're balanced, plenty loud, and with an ANC performance that's excellent for the open ear design. Overall, I think the AirPods 4 with ANC offer a lot if you're a casual runner already invested in the Apple universe who wants a set of headphones that will cover everything from that daily commute into work to remote working in cafes, into the gym for sort of strength sessions and stuff, and then onto your runs. However, if you definitely want AirPods but want a more secure fit and a better sound performance and better ANC, I think it's worth paying the extra £50 for the AirPods Pro 2.
My verdict is that the AirPods 4 with ANC are more or less perfect for me. They're my ideal headphones. The fit is fantastic. It's really comfortable. They stay in the ears when I'm running. I get a little bit of awareness whilst getting good sound quality. I like using them for traveling and other stuff like that because they are more comfortable for me and the fit is a bit more reliable on the run than in-ear headphones. But it's all quite a personal thing, I'd say. Some people, they'll just fall out of your ears and that won't be any good at all on the run. But yeah, the fit has been perfect for me. And if you are someone who doesn't get on with in-ear headphones, finds them uncomfortable, doesn't find they stay in place on the run, maybe an open fit like this would work for you. I'd say if you're someone who's very invested in sound quality, you are going to get better sound at this price and certainly paying a little bit more by looking at some of the best in-ear headphones. I think the sound quality is pretty good on these and it's, again, fine for me, but I think if you want to step up here, you can get it by looking at headphones from Jabra, other brands of in-ear headphones. You just get that passive seal, better ANC as a result, slightly deeper, more powerful bass and that kind of thing as well. Price is pretty high. You have got those excellent headphones out there for in-ear buds. I think it's worth the extra on the standard AirPods 4 for me because the ANC does make a big difference in general use. I would say it's a really helpful feature to have if you're going to use these for stuff like traveling and working in the office as well. Like I say, there are some in-ear buds around that price that will give you better sound quality, which you might want to look at, like the Jabras. I'd say when you're looking at the open headphones around this price, I prefer the AirPods 4 definitely. When there's headphones from brands like Oladance, Open Rock, Shox's more expensive open fit headphones, at this price I would get the AirPods. You're getting a much more rounded set of headphones that still give you a little bit of awareness. That is obviously based on the fact that they do stay on your ears when you're running, which will be a risk. You can get cheaper open headphones if you do find this fit doesn't really work for you. You can look at things like the Shox Open Fit Air, which have an ear hook and then do give you more stability on the run as a result. But if everything works for you as well as it works for me, then I would get the AirPods 4 with ANC because they're my perfect running headphones pretty much, but that won't be the case for everyone. Obviously, you probably know with the fit of these if it works for you based on past models. I think the fit and design's improved compared to the AirPods 3 all round, but still, it might fall out of your ears. If they don't know, they are a cracking set of headphones that work really well for running and general use.
So my verdict on the Apple AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation and whether these are a good fit for runners is that ultimately it hasn't been a fantastic fit in my ears. And I think generally that's my experience with in-ear earbuds that kind of have this kind of style of design where it's not been secure enough for me. And that's kind of been my experience here, which is a shame because, in return, you are getting, very good sounding quality kind of earbuds here. You are getting effective active noise cancellation. You're getting good battery life and pretty good charging capabilities to back that up as well too. I think ultimately that fit has been a problem for me. And I think if I look around the AirPods range, I would still be going for the AirPods Pro 2. I think if you could find the AirPods Pro, the first generation, it's definitely going to be cheaper now. That has more effective active noise cancellation if that's a feature you really care about. And you want that more secure, reliable fit. And I think also slightly more advanced controls as well there. I think, you look at the price range of these against other earbuds, you can definitely get similar sound performance. I think better battery life. I think, similar level of active noise cancellation with a fit that maybe has ear tips, wing tips, that's just going to give you something that's going to sit more securely. And you're going to make you feel more confident they're going to stay put when, over a mixture of different runs. So for me, yeah, it's a bit of a shame because, I do like a lot, here with the AirPods 4. Ultimately, though, that crucial one for me from a running perspective, that kind of reliable fit, just wasn't quite there for me. And that's something that I would factor in here. If it works for you, absolutely great. For me, though, I would still probably be kind of veering towards getting the Pros or the Pro 2s. Okay, so there you have it. That is our take on the Apple AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation. Now, if you've got any questions about these earbuds that we haven't covered in this video, do let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos. And yeah, we'll see you for the next run test video.